All right, moving now to Capitol Hill, where President-elect Trump's nominee for defense secretary is fighting to reach his confirmation hearing. Pete Hegseth is facing mounting questions over his ability to lead the Pentagon. Plus, two of Trump's nominees are presenting a plan to slash the size of federal government. We have two reporters following the developments with the Trump cabinet, one in West Palm Beach, Florida, just outside Mar-a-Lago, and another on Capitol Hill. But first, Florida Senator Rick Scott is throwing his full support behind Pete Hegseth after the two met just moments ago. Let's take a listen.
I just had a great meeting with Pete, the next Secretary of Defense. I'll tell you why I support him. I admire people that are willing to put on the uniform and lead troops into battle. I'm very proud of my father. He's one of 3,000 people that did all 4 combat jumps with the 82nd Airborne, and after that fought in the Battle of the Bulge. I'm very proud of him. Same way I'm proud of Pete. There's not a lot of Americans that have been willing to put on the uniform and have actually led troops in battle and brought them back safely, and knows people that lost their lives, knows people that are injured. When he goes to the Department of Defense, he'll walk in with the mentality that he's going to take care of our warfighters. He's going to make sure they have the right equipment and they're not put in harm's way when they shouldn't be put in harm's way. He's not going to support forever wars. He's not going to support going into battle where we don't even have a plan. So I think he's going to do a great job. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he's confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. I think we all have to really appreciate the people that are willing to put on the uniform and defend the freedom of this country.
All right, let's start on Capitol Hill with CBS News campaign reporter Taurean. Taurean, thanks for being with us today. Pete Hegseth back at the Capitol today. His message is this, quote, "I faced fire before, I won't back down." How's that going to resonate with lawmakers?
Yeah, Liz, it's unsure just how persuasive that message is to still on the fence senators here. I want to start with Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa. She has been pretty mum on whether or not she was convinced following her conversation with him just this morning. She talked to the host of Fox News and said that she is not yet at a point of saying yes. Of course, Ernst is also one being considered by the Trump administration to be the next Secretary of Defense. But what's interesting about what Rick Scott said there, he's obviously a supporter of Hegseth. He said that he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that confirmation happens in Hegseth's favor. But we also know that Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is also on that short list for Secretary of Defense. Yesterday, or this week rather, Rick Scott contrasted the two military experiences, saying that's ultimately why he's pulling for Hegseth. As we just heard there, he is beyond impressed and believes he's credible based on his military experience.
And Taurean, switch gears to the other Trump nominees, Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, taking the Department of Government Efficiency to the Hill today. And they're going to meet with lawmakers and the House Speaker, too. Tweeted yesterday that he was looking forward to the visit. What will come out of this meeting?
Yeah, it's an introduction of the agenda. Like you said, they're looking to slash government and do so under the guise of what Donald Trump has been preaching about on the campaign trail, which is about removing the fat from government. Bicamerally, though, we've seen members, again, like Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, talk about how she wants to slash 30% of the government workforce here in Washington, D.C. and relocate some non-security related government agencies across the country. So it's likely that coming out of these meetings today, we'll see some common ground there, at least from Republicans and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy.
And also today, Taurean, the House Ethics Committee is going to meet to consider releasing that Matt Gaetz report voluntarily. Now, if you remember, Gaetz withdrew his name for consideration as President-elect Trump's pick to be Attorney General ahead of this report being released. What are the chances we see this report, given that Gaetz is not a politician anymore, at least not at the moment?
Well, while anything could happen, it's unlikely that that report will be released. Of course, House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he likes the safeguard of the committee keeping these reports under wraps if a member leaves Congress. This kind of serves its purpose. If there are ethical investigations or violations being investigated, this is kind of a way of pursuing some type of punishment without actually punishing that member. Having them step down from Congress is a way to ensure that, and then under the guise that they won't have that information, that potentially damning information released, is a way to keep this safeguard in place. So it's unlikely that this panel will release that report. Of course, they deadlocked before on whether or not it should be released, and of course from the top, House Speaker Johnson saying that he doesn't want to see it released either.
All right, CBS News campaign reporter Taurean Small from Capitol Hill for us. Thank you, Taurean. All right, CBS News political reporter Jake Rosen is here from West Palm Beach, Florida, to walk us through how all of this is playing out at Mar-a-Lago. Jake, thanks for being with us. Pete Hegseth says he's not backing down and that he has the support of President-elect Trump. We're hearing something else from a senior advisor close to the transition team, though. What is that?
That's right. A senior Trump source told CBS News that, quote, time is running out for Hegseth's nomination. We saw kind of the full court press from yesterday into today with Hegseth on the Hill. His mom did that Fox News interview yesterday morning talking about his character as a son and as a father to his 7 children and the work that he put in at the network. But at the same time, the political reality is very different than what she laid out, which is that there is not a lot of time to get this government really and cabinet really set for Donald Trump, and that just given the constant distractions and the trickle of stories that we've seen around Pete Hegseth in a number of different ways, whether it's his workplace behavior or whether it's his interactions with women, there are a lot of concerns. We saw Joni Ernst this morning, who Taurean just mentioned, not commit in an interview in Fox News to backing him. She's a crucial voice, former military veteran who is not quite there yet, and it really will come down to if there are 4 senators who will not vote for Hegseth, which it appears that that is the case right now, he will not be able to get confirmed, and the Trump transition will have to move on.
And Jake, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is one of the names being floated about as a potential replacement for Hegseth. Are there any other contenders?
There are, and again, we have to remember that Hegseth, even today, said that he spoke with Donald Trump recently and that he's not leaving or withdrawing from his name from consideration in this process. But in addition to Governor DeSantis, who, as we know, was a naval lawyer serving down in Guantanamo Bay, Joni Ernst herself, who's, again, a former military officer in the Army, she is under consideration potentially. Her name has been floated out there as well, in addition to some other names in the Trump orbit, although we'll have to see kind of what happened with Matt Gaetz last 2 weeks ago. There was a complete reshift in one day after Matt Gaetz withdrew. We'll have to see if that happens with Hegseth, whether they go back to square one, reboot the search from scratch, or move someone over from who's already potentially been selected for a different role, or someone who's already involved in this vetting process, like Senator Ernst.
And Jake, the president-elect still also moving ahead with other nominations. He has announced a number of new nominations since yesterday. Any standout names?
There's a couple. Georgia politician and big wealthy Trump donor Kelly Loeffler, a businesswoman who's been really out in the political sphere on behalf of Donald Trump since about 2022 when she ran a failed Senate campaign in Georgia. She was announced as administrator of the Small Business Administration. Again, a name that had been floated for a couple of weeks for a number of different roles, including agriculture. She is now officially a part of the Trump cabinet, in addition to Peter Navarro, who is a trade advisor and longtime aide of Donald Trump. He served in Trump's first administration. He will be back in a different role, not an official trade role, but he'll be working on trade and manufacturing. He, interestingly, was held in contempt of Congress during the Biden administration for not appearing before them and not answering questions. He got out of jail earlier this year, and he will be back in Donald Trump's orbit officially when Donald Trump takes office in January.
CBS News political reporter Jake Rosen live for us from Florida near Mar-a-Lago. Thanks so much, Jake.